ANC NEC member Sihle Zikalala says Umkhonto weSizwe is the heritage of the governing party. Zikalala was speaking at a wreath-laying ceremony in Ndwendwe, that's north of Durban, yesterday. He said individuals using the MK party's name were attempting to claim part of the ANC. And of course, this comes after former President Jacob Zuma publicly supported this newly found organization. Let's make sense of these developments for you now. Bring in Professor Sethulego Matebesi, who's a political analyst, joining us once again via our video link this morning. Prof, lovely to speak to you at these important times, as they say. Welcome to the Air Report. As a start, I wonder, as a political strategy, if this works. I mean, it wasn't just Sihle Zikalala who started speaking out against the former president. Bekele is being quoted in some newspapers this morning. The Mercury is speaking about Umkhonto in a sense, and the current ambassador to India. All of these individuals at some stage seen as allies of the former president, making one or other statement here and there. Does this make a difference in a context where the ANC as a body is yet to say anything?
Hi, good morning, Ayanda, and good morning to your viewers. Very interesting times, as always, in South African politics. And even the chairperson has, to a certain extent, and unexpectedly so, also spoken out about what is happening. I think it does help, because if you are an ANC member, and yet it seems as if the party is mum on what I would say a very critical matter that can just derail the plans that the African National Congress have going into next year's elections. I've seen many commentators have said, well, Zuma and Mahashule will not dent the hopes of the African National Congress, but we should just look in general. We sit with a voter turnout, a huge challenge of people sitting at home who don't exercise their votes. And if you've got a leader coming from what I would say almost like a very tribalistic region, it will just have some disruptions politically wise. And that's why I strongly believe that why these veterans have come out guns blazing to take a stance and say, not in our name.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting you say that, because the Sunday newspapers, I think, were quoting Bekele saying that they're also worried that if the ANC says anything now, they run the risk of painting the former president as some kind of martyr, which will have the opposite of the desired effect. Does that logic for you hold water? In other words, will it cost the ANC more or less to speak out now versus them saying anything post the elections?
No, well, it will definitely cost them to keep mum. For me, they should have spoken out about this particular matter a long time ago, but this has been the elephant in the room for the African National Congress. The ANC sometimes dilly-dally when they have to take a decision on certain individuals. And that is why some members of the African National Congress believe that they are untouchable. And that leads to the chaotic situation within the party. When issues, transgressions happen where somebody who is, I would still regard the former president as a senior member of the African National Congress based on the position that you occupied in the past, a key leader who should set, the tone in terms of where this party should go. And if he goes out and makes the pronouncements that I think all of us are aware of, then action should be taken. It should never be a case of who is involved and what will be the consequences. And that way you build an organization which in any case is more than a century, or should set a tone, should set an example to say they instead really want to lead South Africans, but they are also taking care of their own internal affairs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also difficult to kind of place what the former president's strategy is here, and so much has already been said about that, right? This idea that he doesn't really care about his own he doesn't really care about the ANC. He's more after his own interests, and that's why he'd go this way. He's more interested in dividing the ANC vote in the lead up to next year, and so forth and so forth. Is the strategy, whatever you think it is, actually working?
No, well, it is. For some, the former president is costing sleepless nights, and I think there's absolutely nothing for him to lose if you look at his age and what he has contributed to South Africans. And I'm going to say it again, I'm one of those who also believe that perhaps it's about time that the former president focus on other things, still politics, but he should take a back seat. But there's people around him who strongly believe that he can still make a political contribution. But that also in itself has to do with an environment which has been conducive to people to act the way they are. I mean, I don't believe that the former president or South Africa today would have found itself where it is if this was not the situation. You know, if you are a teacher at a certain school and the headmaster can't take control at a university, and you've got a vice rector who can't take control of the situation, it becomes a chaotic institution. And it's exactly what has been happening with the body politics within the African National Congress, where some leaders have become untouchable and they just don't care. And I think also we're talking about somebody who's really wounded, who's been hurt so much. And I'm talking now from his vantage point, from his perspective. And for him, this is perhaps an opportunity to say, hey, I don't care what you do, but I'm still going to remain a member of the African National Congress. But I myself, I believe that I can still do, and campaign for any other party. That is, I've never heard about that. But that can only tell you something about the individual and the organization.
Absolutely. You know, it seems if there's going to be a cost to all of this for the ANC, the highest price will possibly be in KwaZulu-Natal. That's already a province facing an onslaught from so many different vantage points. The IFP said to be having strongholds, the DA in some instances emerging, and now this MK party headache. How do you envision the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal navigating these very troubled waters in a context where they've already had enough on their plate, quite frankly?
Yeah, well, a very difficult situation to perhaps even start to comment on. But what some of us can only ask for is that this should not lead to another vicious cycle of bloodshed. Politics are there to be contested, debate. We've got a constitutional democracy, and we should keep on it. Consolidating whatever we have. We just hope that, and it's, I think, tremendous pressure if you look at the leadership in KwaZulu-Natal, a young leadership who are leading the provincial executive committee, and I think it's tremendous pressure on them, the very same people who have been supporting and vouching for the former president now has to go to him perhaps and to persuade him to say, yes, continue with whoever you support, but please don't try to hurt your home, which is the African National Congress. And that it will be a very difficult task to navigate come this next couple of months.
Absolutely. As always, Professor Sethulego Matebesi, it's lovely speaking to you. Thank you for your insights. I'm sure we'll speak again soon if the past few weeks are anything to go by. Professor Sethulego Matebesi, a political analyst.